Second. All right. It's the first time that I've done it with Microsoft Teams here, so it should be recording. Should be fine now.
Right.
And I will try to send you afterwards. We will find a way to get it across to you.
Thank you.
Hey, so yeah, so thanks for following up so quickly on the community as well. It was really helpful. So let's dive in directly. As you can see here, I've tried to. I hope you can see my screen, by the way. But I've tried to just get an overview of what the structure in our system looks like. So what I've basically done a while ago already is build a flat hierarchy without basically that new functionality in 6.8. And as you can see, it just has a level 1, just basically a normal structure. It goes further than level 4. It's kind of flexible. And as you can see, just to work out some use cases where I'm associating risks at various levels and see how that works with aggregating it upwards and showing it on different levels. So basically, this is a structure with a couple of entities in there. So let me just start over here. So this is that one application that I've called organizational entities, and as you can see here, there's the organization key where we used a path basically. So with a slash over here, dividing it up so that you can actually see what the parents are of the entity that you're in, the level, the entity name itself, some entity type, average risk rating, and obviously a status. So going into a level 1 record here, so it's a corporate record. And what I have done is I've leveraged calculate cross-references to build out a structure and basically link a parent entity to its direct children, but in a separate cross-reference also tie it to everything below. So as you can see over here, and let me just go into edit mode. Entity name, the level which is calculated, the organization key which is calculated as well. Scrolling down a little bit, here you see the child entities. So this is basically the direct children only. And then below owned risk, so risks directly tied to this level 1 record, which in this case is none. And then a little bit below, it's basically all the related risks. So you can see the path over here, and let me just click view all. And stop me anywhere if I go too fast or if you have any questions. But basically here you see everything, all the risks related to either this entity or any entity below this entity. And as you can see, there's corporate audits, and there's a level 3 over here, audit core, and even further down. So this basically shows all the related records. And when we scroll up and we look at the average risk rating, in this case, and of course it can be changed, but I base this on all of the risks associated to this level 1 record. So not only the owned risks, but also all the related risks. So let me just go one level down. And I'm scrolling down. So again, you see the direct children. So we are here at, just scroll up, entity level audit. Again, organization key is calculated. The level is calculated. And so the direct children, core and coastal in this case. And then the owned risks. In this case, we do have owned risks, and we have actually a couple of them. And also let me click the related risks, all of them. So if you look at the owned risks, there are 7 of them, risk 1 through 7. And then below, you will find those 1 through 7, but also all of the ones related below. Well, I could go on, but I think it's clear what the intention or how I've set this up.
Yeah, those are calculated cross-references, you said?
Correct, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I basically based this on a number of things. So I've tried different methodologies to get it mapped, also to the underlying risks. But basically over here, so sorry if I'm moving a bit too fast. So let me just scroll up. So over here you see the direct children, and then the parent structure. And this is maybe also nice to see. If I go one level down to core, you see the parent entity, child entities. What did I want to show? Yeah, sorry. Click on edit. So I've made two views, like a user and admin view directly on the record. And we are now in the admin view just to show you some additional stuff. So actually you see the whole parent structure here as well. So not only the parent entity, but also the parent and the grandparent, basically. And this is dynamic. So you basically see this for each and every record. You see the full structure, or at least you have access to the full structure, upwards as well as downwards. So in this view, you see child entities over here, which is the direct children. But if I scroll down to the admin section, then you see the child structure as a separate cross-reference field. In this case, it just goes to level 4, but if it would be deeper, then you would see level 5 and whatever is below there as well. So we have a organization key values list, which is being populated by a data feed. And what this basically does is it feeds all of the keys that we have in our business hierarchy to this global values list, and we use that to make relationships. So you see here parent organization keys, and basically there's some logic behind the scenes so that we can connect everything with everything. And that's also the, let's say, caveat of this solution, and not tested in a production system. So this is really just demo setup. I did show it to customer, and they were quite pleased with what they saw. But as you can imagine, there will be quite a number of calculations relating a lot of records to a lot of other records, basically.
Yeah, about how many values do you have in that values list? Do you know?
I don't know from the top of my head, but it should be easy to check, actually. If I just go to... Because it should literally be the number of organization. So in this case, 29 just. But for one of my customers who has a really huge exploded business hierarchy, it's, I think, like 3,000-ish.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is on the general structure of the business hierarchy itself. Let me just dive into a risk, and I've just created a dashboard, which I think shows quite neatly the possibilities that we have with reporting. And that's, I've created such a level for, like, this is kind of a static kind of thing. So for each level, I've created a nice donut chart displaying all the risks. So not only the owned risks, but all the risks. Same view, but then divided up by entity level 4. So the division on these level 4s. And then below, which makes it quite clear what we're doing is, or what the possibilities are, is we have a level 4, the organizational entities, and then only the owned risks. And just to show, let me just scroll below, like over here, you see the different columns, you see all related risks, and you see the owned risks. So then it's clear that it's two different cross-references. And if we're now looking at a owned risks, so looking at this area 1, you see a bunch of all risks, and then the owned risks only, and then you can see that it matches, right? So we see only these two, which matches with these two over here. But then if we scroll down a little bit, we see all of the risks. So this is the same report, but now instead of only showing the own risks, we're showing all of the risks. Oh, So it's literally not area 1, that one. So a little bit up, we only saw these two, and now in this report we see actually all of the owned, all of the related risks. So we have a little, we have a lot of different reporting capabilities, and as you can see over here as well, we see risks tied to level 4, but then also risks tied to any children of this level 4 unit. Everything clear until now?
Yes, very good.
Okay, cool. So going into one of those risks that I've actually rated. So there we are. So this is just a super simplified version of the risk register. This is also interesting. I will come to this as well. It's a confidential flag to drive whether only, let's say, regular viewers or confidential viewers, so a special group of viewers, should be able to see this risk. But on the risk itself, it's quite neat, where you see the organizational entity. So this is the direct relationship. You can see the organizational level, entity level, and you can see the full path from level 4 to up to level 1. We see that, you know, we can just do the inherited record permissions as well. Entity manager in this case just coming from this cross-reference, where this of course is a calculated cross-reference. And then looking down, and here you can see some logic. So over here, and this is also calculated, these are those organization keys that are automatically populated, where it's derived from the direct link over here, as well as the values for all of the parents, which we can also derive, and therefore we can basically leverage that to link this risk to all of those records in the hierarchy. So all of the whole path upwards, basically, up the tree. Over here we have two cross-references where we have set the confidentiality or the non-confidential relations. So whenever I, for example, set this to, well, this is a confidential risk, and I would save this, then you would see that this is now empty, and this is now populated, where before it was the other way around because it was a non-confidential risk. So I said if there's no record, then it defaults to non-confidential. And now through this path, we inherit those confidential viewers that, in this case, let me just go upwards a bit, are the users mentioned in this. So we are on the entity record. And every user that is mentioned over here will now be inherited, as well as so not the viewers, only the confidential viewers. And if it's a non-confidential risk, then both of them will be inherited instead of only the confidential viewers. I think that so there's one thing that I also want to explain or go into, but I think for now, this is the general setup, and you can apply it to, of course, to whatever application that you have. But I think this does tick all the boxes, and actually seems to go hand in hand with all of the planned functionality that you mentioned on in the community as well, and potentially even making this kind of setup easier to report on than currently is the case, and potentially even providing the opportunity to get rid of some of the calculated stuff. But that needs to be seen. I haven't gone into those details yet, but yeah, I think just to pause here for a moment. I'm very interested in your thoughts.
Yeah, this is cool. Thank you for providing this demo. This is a great real-world use case of how customers and our partners are trying to leverage different hierarchy structures within the product to do that kind of aggregative or roll-up risk reporting. And this, I think, highlights that very, very succinctly and very beautifully with some of the reporting that you've established. So this is great to see some of the search enhancements that we've been making lately being put to good use already. And then, kind of thinking about where you want to go next with this, I think it does align really well with my roadmap for the search functions of the product. Once we have that ability to do, take multiple paths through the data to get to the same application, and being able to apply more specific and granular filters across the data set, I think we'll be able to produce some really powerful reporting within the product.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, good to hear. Good to hear. One other thing that you might be interested in, unless you have other things to say about this.
Not specifically, no.
Okay. Good.
This kind of stuff is what we're looking at building into some of our solutions now that it's available. We want to use the same kind of logic out of the box in some of our stuff. So it's great to see you on the cutting edge here and pushing this stuff forward already. That's awesome.
Cool. Thanks. Good to hear. So maybe it's interesting to show you the following. So within one of our customers, and I know this is the case for other customers as well, is that what they struggle with is they decided to go very heavy on managing users and their rights, their record permission rights throughout the system via the business hierarchy. So just as I've done over here, manager and viewers, and then confidential viewers, and in some cases also slightly abusing those kind of fields to facilitate some use cases that weren't necessarily built in. On top of the 3 simplified fields that you see over here, they have a couple of other, like first line of defense and second line of defense fields, and even like third line of defense fields. So over the years, they have grown into a monstrous collection of users, all of which were inherited downward to each and every record, up to even like a documentation application, like a layer around an attachment, where it ended up in a super big database where we saw very big impact on the performance as well. So after doing a lot of brainstorming and sorting out options, we actually implemented something quite neat, which is we decided to put all of these, any field where you would have multiple users, like viewers and confidential viewers and whatnot, to automatically create, let me just show you here, admin view, to create groups. So as you can see here, so this is a record permission group for the viewers field, for the organizational entities record with tracking ID, this one. And every hour even with my current customer, that script is running, and it's collecting all of the viewers and all of the confidential viewers and all of the whatever other groups or of users that we have in the system as well. It collects them, it creates the group if it doesn't exist, and it will update the users within that group. And that is what we inherit to any record below. So I think I have put that on the lead. So over here, inherited record permissions. And as you can see, it just goes up to each and every group, each and every record directly or indirectly related to this risk, to provide those record permissions. And the performance benefits was huge. So we saw an increase of performance of up to like 50 or for 40 to 50% for the use cases. We saw that the database tables or the database itself would like shrunk with half of it. So this was quite a project also to sort out the options and etc. and to sort out the impact, because this is kind of a customized solution. It involves API work, so there's a data feed running in the background, leveraging the JavaScript that contains all of the logic, when to update groups, when to create them, and basically populating the groups onto the organizational entities, like we see. Like we see in that admin view over here. It now turns out that having everything on the user view is not so useful, but anywho, so basically to create the groups and to set them on the records. And that's basically something that I wanted to show you. It's now in production for more than half a year, and we haven't run into any like big limitations or any of that. So all in all, they seems to be like super pleased with it. It's an interesting take, an alternative on what is like considered as a normal case.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have something that is cleaning out these groups if the records are deleted? It seems like this would be a really good way to end up with 10, 20,000 access groups in your platform.
Correct. Yeah. So we have a separate data feed running for that. There's a delete script in there, which runs. It's basically just to clean the system up, so it doesn't run that often. We have set it to once a week or something. It just runs in the background, and at the end, it deleted all of the groups that are obviously record permission groups, and that are not set on any record. That way, if you would ever delete a record from the system for whatever reason, you would not be left with a bunch of orphan groups. And obviously, this does expand quite quickly, because if you introduce a new group of users to the system, it will be that amount, the number of entities that you have in your business hierarchy, times the number of new groups of users that you introduce into the system. But then again, it's still much more efficient, so to say, than having those users in the system, and also more transparent, because previously they would change, let's say, a viewer or add a viewer, and everything needs to be recalculated. Quite a while. In this case, the script runs every hour, and it can even theoretically be run more often. It adds the new user to the group, and the access is already calculated. So you take a lot of load from the system as well, because with any change that you make over here, it doesn't trigger any recalculations in the system, because that's already been done, because that's now on group level.
So those fields you're looking at there, are those just user group fields? They're not permission fields?
Correct. Those are just user group fields, and then these are the record permission. Yes. So they feed into this, and this then is inherited downwards.
Yeah. So if the data feed that does your maintenance just runs, and then I come to a record and add somebody, they have to wait an hour then till they actually get access?
So in the case of the organizational entity, if you change something here, then they need to wait for an hour to get access, and they have instant access to everything below. If I would create a new risk, then obviously that's immediately calculated, and you directly have access to that risk. And we can, as I said before, we can run this definitely more often, and it might even be the case that in their production system they have set it as their frequency is now higher. But before they said, we have made the change. Now go wait for, if you wait for half a day, you're safe. Because otherwise you're never sure whether you see all of the risks or just a part of it, all of the findings or just a part of it, because you don't know when the system is done recalculating. Now they can say, well, within the hour it's updated, and you have direct access to everything that you need to have access to.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool. That's a very interesting approach to permissions management. I like it. It's clever. Have you given any thought to pitching that to the RSA exchange?
Yes, actually, yeah, I have, and I would be interested in doing that, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah, and yeah, I think basically this is the core of what I wanted to show you, as well as, if I may ask you one question, on whether we can expect anytime soonish that feature that I did see before of having business rules around inherited record permission fields, which I think in the end didn't make the cut for whatever reason. But that's something that we run into a lot, that limitation where you have edit rights on the organization entity, and whenever you inherit it down to risk, it's still edit rights, and you need to lock things down with conditional layouts. And yeah, I was just wondering, is there something that you can say about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were getting started on developing that feature. Well, when was that? Probably just before last Charge, because I know we highlighted it at Charge in Orlando last year. We were getting started on it. We were starting to do the work, and then the time came for App Builder to start being picked apart to have Silverlight taken out of it. Right. And at that point, they decided, basically, and for good reason, that the Silverlight removal work and achieving parity in our new technology stack is more important than feature enhancements to App Builder right now.
Right.
And so anything inside of App Builder is frozen right now. There is zero appetite for us to change even a single character of Silverlight code while that team is trying to achieve parity in the new language.
Right. Yeah.
So the current track and process is that App Builder is on track to release in the April release next year without Silverlight. And then at that point, we will start doing enhancements to App Builder. And the top enhancement in that backlog right now is the inherited record permission rules.
So yeah, makes sense.
So that would likely be out in our October 2021 release. So unfortunately, it's still about a year and a half away, but we got to take care of the Silverlight problem first, and then we can start doing cool stuff with App Builder again.
Yeah, that makes sense. I understand now the reason. Yeah, great. Thanks for giving that insight. Yeah, I think 2 minutes over. Is there anything that you wanted to ask or check?
No, this was just great. It's especially today where we're all kind of cooped up at home, and I'm not able to travel to customer sites as much as I used to. It's great to be talking with customers and partners again, and see people using the product and excited about the new features that are coming and the roadmap direction. So this is really cool to see a couple of very innovative solutions to real problems and being put to use in our product.
Cool. Thanks. Very good.
Yeah, have a good evening. Thank you for sharing with me. When you get the recording link or file or whatever, if you can send that over to me, that would be much appreciated so I can share this internally.
Yeah, definitely. And I will sort out what to do with the charge. But yeah, of course, I would be very interested to do a demo on this.
Yeah.
I think I've seen an email. So it's just the call for speakers kind of thing that I can reply to, right? Or is there anything that you can help out with or send me?
Yeah, it's just there's a form you fill out and email into some shared box. The instructions for that are on the RSA Archer Summit site.
Oh, okay.
I can send you a direct link to that if you need it.
Okay. Yeah. That will be helpful. Cool. Stu, anything from your side?
No, I think you went through it really well. Cool.
Thanks. Then I will wish you a very good day.
Yeah, here. Let me, in the chat, I just put the link to the call for speakers for you.
Cool.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the demo today. This is exciting to see. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too. Have a good day. Bye-bye.